What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly with the Notre Dame recruiting update this week. Hope you are well whenever you are watching or listening to this. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Let's have a day, folks. Kyle and I are both clearly not in our usual setups. Kyle, it's interesting for streaming 101 for doing shows like this. They say to connect directly to the internet. Do not use Wi-Fi. So not only are we not doing that, we are using hotel Wi-Fi, which if you've stayed in a hotel, you know it is extremely hit or miss. This Marriott chain I'm at, I think has actually got pretty decent internet. But Kyle, I'm worried about you there, buddy.
Do my best. We'll say this week is the only week where I can say I have better lighting than Mike. So Take a look at my beautiful face. You get to see every nook and cranny of me this week. When I was doing the setup today with this natural lighting, I was like, man, I've never even seen my face like this. So I hope everyone enjoys getting a look at me. And Mike has disappeared, so you're really going to see a lot of me today.
I wanted to see if I had another light because you're right. I got nothing, man. The lamp over here just doesn't even work. And I had to kind of roll away like that because no one needed to see, what shorts I am wearing, or lack thereof, I should say. So, hope everyone is doing well. John says, good to be Irish from Montana. Tyler says, let's go Irish. And we already got people asking about Justin Scott. So I would not hold your breath there on Justin Scott, but got plenty to talk about today. Hope everyone is well again. Drop a thumbs up on the video. That really helps support our channel and push it out to more people. So please hit a thumbs up on it and subscribe to our channel, of course, for more Notre Dame recruiting content. Yeah, I look very, very like red. Again, I got one little lamp here. There's just not much lighting in this room at all. We're just gonna have to deal with it. So yeah, folks, appreciate you. Good morning, Brent from California. Appreciate you waking up early with us and talking some Notre Dame recruiting. So next week's show will be very heavy on Notre Dame USC visitors. We're of course we got three big time, as the title of the video and podcast suggests. We got three big visitors that we've confirmed this week. When you think about defensive back recruiting in the 2025 class of the Fighting Irish, these are not the three names you think about right away, but they are three big ones that we're going to talk about. But first, I wanted to discuss, and Kyle, this is not something I've really gone over with you, kind of like my lead rant here. It's not a rant. It's really the opposite. It's a gushing review about Marcus Freeman. So on the message board this week at Blue and Gold, I would definitely recommend folks to subscribe to the board if you have not done so yet. We'll get to that in a second. Sorry. The loose emoji board current offer, I believe, is $1 for a month, and we have another offer coming up here shortly. I posted a quote on the message board from four-star safety Jadon Blair. His quote when I asked him about Marcus Freeman was this. Let's see if I can't get it up on the screen as well. Coach Freeman is in contact with me more than all the head coaches. When I posted that on the message board, the response that I got was, you guys remember that article from Carter Carell's in the South Bend Tribune? What would this been, 3 years ago? And Carell's talk to the safety at Ohio State, Ransom. I can't remember his name now.
Ransom.
Yep. And the receiver at McMillan at Washington. And both guys said, I would have maybe considered Notre Dame much more if Brian Kelly would have talked to me more. We are in such a refreshing period in Notre Dame recruiting. Or look, when Marcus Freeman took over as head coach and he said, I'm going to be the lead recruiter for everyone that we're after. When I heard that, I was like, okay, that's not realistic. You're not going to really be able to do that. That's in practicality, like Marcus Freeman is not leading the recruitment for everyone that Notre Dame is after. But with that being said, when you see the quote from Jadon Blair saying, I talk to Marcus Freeman more than all the other head coaches. That is so great to hear for everyone who follows the Fighting Irish. Randall, good morning. Michael, good morning. Hope everyone is well. Because as someone who covered Brian Kelly for what, 3 years, however long it was, it was like, what is Brian Kelly doing on the recruiting front? And I've talked about this, Kyle. When your boss, whether it's your head coach or whether it's our boss, Shannon Terry at On3, or for you folks, whatever line of work you're in, when your boss, or maybe you're the boss, right? When that person who's at the top is working their tails off, it trickles down because you cannot be slacking off. Because, man, if your boss is working harder than you got to pick it up. So when Marcus Freeman is grinding on the recruiting trail, what does that say to all of the assistant coaches and the recruiting staff? Oh, he's watching. We gotta work hard too. But if your boss is not busting his tail on the recruiting front, it's probably a little bit easier for you to slack off. So I loved that from Jadon Blair, and I get that kind of quote very, very often. So it's just kind of like a good reminder for Fighting Irish fans that your head coach is busting his tail on the recruiting trail. It's never going to be a lack of effort for Notre Dame in recruiting. They're not going to lose because they were slacking off and not contacting a recruit as much as they should have been. Like, if they're not contacting a recruit as much, it's because they have a reason. And I wanted to point that out. One more quote from Noah Grubbs, a class of 2026 quarterback recruit. Again, this is 2026 quarterback. This is not, Notre Dame just got their 2025 guy. They're not full on board 2026 yet. That'll happen after the season. But listen to this quote from Grubbs. He said, the coolest experience, and he's talking about when he was on campus for the Ohio State game, the coolest experience was when Coach Freeman told me, I'm excited you came here, but let's make you stay here. None of the head coaches that offered me so far straight up told me that. I'll never forget that. So not only is Notre Dame working hard, they're clearly good at what they do in recruiting. Marcus Freeman having that line to kind of pull out and throw out a prospect. So just a lot of good vibes for me on the recruiting trail right now, Kyle. What do you think about my opening thoughts here?
Well, I think that I heard that quote from Noah Grubbs' trainer, a little bit shortly after it happened, and I was just like, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, wow. If I was a recruit and I heard from a head coach and pretty charismatic guy like Marcus Freeman, I'd be ready to commit on the spot. So that was just so cool. I haven't heard Marcus Freeman say that to any other kid. So kind of curious why he singled out Grubbs. He's trending to be a 5-star quarterback from Florida. I know he came at Notre Dame, Gino Cooley, and those guys really liked him to offer him after that camp. But I will say, I've kind of discussed on the show at times before I joined the Notre Dame beat, I covered Ohio State recruiting in a much larger capacity for Cleveland.com. And I was kind of handling some of the marquee prospects on the offensive line and defensive backs. And I remember that, Ryan Day's name would come up pretty often. So I thought, to me, it was kind of just normal for head coaches to talk to recruits. I thought that was kind of the standard. But it's almost like when I'm talking to a lot of these recruits, and I'm sure it's the same case with you, Marcus Freeman's name always comes up. It's actually pretty remarkable. Every single recruit, honestly, that I've talked to this year, I guess since the start of football season, has said that they've talked to Marcus Freeman. And that's just honestly super remarkable to me because these guys are in the middle of the season. Notre Dame's trying to win a national championship. Marcus Freeman's got 6 kids of his own at home. He's got 85 scholarship kids on that roster, plenty more walk-ons. He's got a big coaching staff. He has so many, important people across that entire Notre Dame program, and he's still finding a way to connect with the recruit. There's 160 guys on Notre Dame's board in the 2025 recruiting cycle. And even some of the guys that we don't really think of as the top targets, Marcus Freeman is still talking to guys. And I think that is going to pay off. Like I've heard on a number of different occasions from a number of kids that Notre Dame is recruiting them right now harder than any other school. And the fact that that's taking place during the season is pretty impressive.
Yep, good stuff, Kyle. So definitely good vibes and good time to be a Notre Dame fan, like I mentioned. Kyle, let's hear from our sponsors real quick over at Prize Picks. It's a fantastic company. You get to pick 2 to 6 players for a single entry, and if they will go more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on an entry. But it gets even better. All first-time users that deposit and use promo code BGI will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit 100, Prize Picks will give you 150. Then they'll give you 50. Just download the app or check out prizepick.com and make sure you use that promo code BGI. It's not just for college sports. Prize Picks offers projections on PGA, college and pro, men's and women's basketball, NASCAR, MMA, cricket, soccer, just about anything. And remember, folks, all first-time users that deposit and use that promo code BGI will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code BGI, or download the app today. So last week's prize pick for your boy, I wanted to talk about this flex pick entry before, and we're just going to talk about this before we dive back into Notre Dame recruiting, folks. I threw out some other picks. We're not going to talk about those. We're just going to look at the wins, okay? So I did what's called a 3-pick flex play, where if you get, and I threw $20 on this, right? So if you get 2 out of 3, you get your money back plus $5. Hitting 2 out of 3 shouldn't be too hard. Hit 3 out of 3, you win 2.25 times your money, and that paid out, getting my $20 back plus an extra 25. So, and what they do on Fridays, let me pull this up real quick, is they call it a Flex Friday. It's a protected play, right? So this Friday pick that I did last Friday for these 3 Friday night games is you throw it. I think it's max up to a $20 entry, and you will get your money back if you don't hit it. So I was just like, yeah, I don't really believe in Brendan Armstrong and Jack Plummer and DJ Uiagalelei, but life is too short to bet the less. So I just threw the more on all 3. Hope 2 out of 3 hit. If not, I get my money back. So check out the terms and conditions. It's only on your first flex play placed from 10:30 to 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Players have to be in action on that Friday. So I will certainly be checking that out, my options for my flex play today. So again, folks, you can check that out. PrizePicks.com. Use that promo code BGI. All right, folks, please hit that thumbs up on this video if you have not done so yet. Dive back into Notre Dame recruiting on a Friday. Kyle, like, I am thinking about what the heck I've even done this week, because like this week is just blown by, and we usually do this show Thursday mornings. But I was traveling. I was driving down to Highland Home, Alabama, and we'll talk about the road travels here in a bit. So that's why Kyle and I are not in our usual setups, because we are both traveling this week. But yeah, Kyle, wanted to talk about 3 defensive backs in the 2025 class that have set up visits to Notre Dame for the USC game. And folks, I'll just mention this. We will have much more reporting to do on USC visitors, but want to just kind of throw out 3 quickly, Kyle. I'll give you the floor on these first 2 guys, and then I'll wrap it up with the last player. But Matai Togiai from San Clemente, California. He was playing in Vegas, but I see he's moved out to Southern California. Tell us about him a little bit. I got to see him in Knoxville, Tennessee, actually in April. He was playing on the same 7-on-7 team with Notre Dame quarterback commit CJ Carr. And he is a long, rangy safety, really impressive player. But Kyle, just Tell us about his recruitment a little bit, the impact of him visiting for the USC game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. And you mentioned long rangy, 6'4", and kind of interesting. One of the other recruiting services has projected as a linebacker. And I know like safety and linebackers kind of, sometimes you get a strong safety and that sort of thing. It, could be tomato tomato sort of thing. But yeah, Maitai Togiai, one of the best prospects out west, transferred from Las Vegas Faith Lutheran to San Clemente, California. A guy that I think it was Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden went and saw back in the spring. Notre Dame continued to recruit him super hard. He's been trying to get up to Notre Dame for a visit, and unlike some of these guys on the in the Midwest, or I know some of the North Carolina guys from Charlotte are able to hop on a flight real easy to get to South Bend. The guys from the West Coast, it can be pretty challenging. Togiai has never visited a Midwestern school, Midwestern college, at least on a college recruiting visit. So this is a big one for Notre Dame. This is pretty right now hard hitting Western battle, as you see on the on recruiting prediction machine. USC is kind of in front. He's been there a number of different times. Believe it or not, UNLV is number 2 there. I know he liked the home school when he went visited it. Also been to Arizona State. I think he's been to Oklahoma as well. That's a little bit out of the region. But this is a guy that Notre Dame can really milk the bird on for him once he makes his campus. This is gonna be his first game day visit too this season. So he's gonna be a fun to get campus here later this fall, and anything can happen once a kid gets on campus, especially some of these recruits from the Polynesian community, like Maitai, grew up idolizing Manti Te'o, of course, just absolute Notre Dame legacy and icon. So yeah, that's going to be a very important visit upcoming for Notre Dame. You're on mute, my bro.
You're sure? I sure am. And then Baltimore St. Francis Academy cornerback, 4-star prospect Kevin Humes. Tell us about him a little bit, Kyle.
Yeah, really interesting prospect here. This is a guy that came up to campus back in the spring, and he loved Notre Dame. Academics are super high on his list. And then just like, sometimes with some of these guys that come to visit, they kind of fall out of the steam of coverage, I guess, whereas other guys, come to campus more frequently and are able to get to Notre Dame, more often. But Notre Dame has remained in contact with Humes. They've during the evaluation periods and times when Notre Dame can go to see high schools they're frequenting at Baltimore St. Francis Academy. It's a school Notre Dame is notoriously not recruited very well, despite it being a Catholic high school. Notre Dame is, there's a lot of schools out on the East Coast that they're trying to do better at. Those Catholic schools, St. Francis Academy, Only Maryland, Good Counsel. There's an DeMatha. That's a school
DeMatha,
Notre Dame has to tap into.
Gonzaga, where Notre Dame. Should I tell a story about Caleb Williams and Notre Dame? No,
we'll save that for another time because I know where that's going to go.
Notre Dame dropped the ball. Shot.
Yeah. So, anyway, this is going to be a really interesting visit. Humes put Notre Dame in his top 8 in the summer. He's basically considering the schools that are featured there in the RPM. I know Oregon's a player as well. A couple other schools in there as too. But I think Notre Dame can really make headway in this recruitment. And although he's a little bit lower rated than some of the other cornerbacks on Notre Dame's board, I know it's a guy they like. He kind of missed the first part of his junior season with an injury, so he's starting to get back in the groove of things, and hoping to see him at his school next month. We'll see if it works out. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting visit to have him back on campus for Notre Dame.
Got a little non-recruiting breaking news to discuss real quick. How about
big Dolphins guy?
How about Chase Claypool being traded to the Dolphins? How should I feel about this? Like, I'm excited, but I haven't really followed his saga with the Bears. But should I be pretty excited? Like, I think I am. I mean, we got what, three Dolphins players off the top of my, or excuse me, three Notre Dame players on the Dolphins: Durham Smythe, Chase Claypool, and Liam Eichenberg. I mean, I'm pretty excited. So, how about that? Dolphins get Chase Claypool. Okay. Good note from Kyle. Um, the Matai Togiai, he's visiting for the Pitt game. So that is a mistake from Mike Singer in planning. So Kyle, thank you for the shout. So Togiai
It's
visiting
still a
for
big one,
still a
and
huge one.
that's almost better because like Notre Dame, that's not going to be as big as a visitors weekend as Ohio State and USC games, so they're going to be able to get him on campus, pay more attention to him. You know, Notre Dame does a great job of making all these kids feel important once they're on campus, but you know, it's just a numbers game sometime, and you know, there's not expected to be as many guys there for the Pitt game. There's still some marquee names that we have posted on the Loose Emoji message board, but yeah, nonetheless, a super big visit upcoming for Notre Dame.
Yep, Singer is clearly struggling here. Yeah, but I'll get it together. And then one more guy to talk about who is indeed planning to visit for the USC game and not the Pitt game is Dallas Golden from Tampa Berkeley Prep. As you see in his, for folks watching on YouTube, you see in the little picture there, that is him rocking some Notre Dame gear inside Notre Dame Stadium back in April for the Blue Gold game. Listed as a safety by On3. Certainly could play there at the next level. Also plays running back at high school level, but Notre Dame recruiting him as a cornerback prospect. And I got to see him during a spring practice in the spring. And yeah, I thought he looked really good. Just an overall fantastic athlete. Comes from the same high school as Keon Keeley, but Notre Dame looking for better luck here. So, yeah, Notre Dame battling the big Florida schools, but going to a private school in the Sunshine State like this is one of the premier ones. So if you're going to go to Florida and land some kids, two schools that you want to recruit are Tampa Jesuit and Berkeley Prep, also in Tampa. And Notre Dame's got a kid from Jesuit already in running back Justin Thurman, and they would love to add Dallas Golden as well. So Florida State currently the RPM leader, but Dallas Golden. I mean, with the name Golden, I mean, I feel like I mean, that sounds like a good Notre Dame name if I've ever heard one. Yeah, Dallas Golden visiting for the USC game. Let's hear quickly from another sponsor, Kyle, and that is Rogue Shop, the husband and wife outfit. It's Rogue. Mr. Rogue and his wife Char are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch, sustainable plant medicine, a true holistic type of small business. They farm and grow everything themselves and do everything by hand. Check them out at rogueshop.com. That's ROGUE shop.com. They sell everything from CBD, THC, edibles, tinctures, smokables, bath salts, pain creams, topicals, vapes, candles, soaps, and more. Check it out, rogueshop.com. If you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, or maybe have anxiety, stress issues, and you can use the promo code blue and gold for 10% off your order. So please do, if you're interested in this type of product, check it out, rogueshop.com. Use that promo code blue and gold. You can also, for folks watching on YouTube, you can see this bottom left corner. You can chat with the owners of Rogue Shop, Mr. Rogue and Char, and they will answer any questions that you may have. All right, Kyle, let's talk about some road travels. So obviously both of us were on the road yesterday. That's why we're currently in hotel rooms. So you got to see a Notre Dame legacy. When we talk about legacies, you think of, your Jerome Bettis Jr., your James Flanagan, like those types of legacies, right? Austin Alexander's a little bit different of a legacy. His dad went to Notre Dame, I believe was in the marching band. And then he's got some serious NFL pedigree as well with his uncle. Why don't you tell us a little bit, Kyle, about Austin Alexander?
Yeah, in case anyone was wondering where I went, I didn't vaporize into the atmosphere. I had to sneeze. So try to do that a little bit low key. But anyway, yeah, Austin Alexander, father Duran Alexander went to Notre Dame. I think class of '95 graduate. I can't remember for sure. It was definitely in the late '90s or mid '90s. Wasn't the marching band, but he did play intramural football. And I know on Loose Emoji message board, there are some big time intramural football folks. So don't sleep on old Duran Alexander, even though he didn't play for the actual Fighting Irish. But Austin Alexander, he has a chance to play for Notre Dame. He picked up a scholarship offer at the end of August, a couple of days before his Tennessee State visit. I think that was his fifth one as a recruit going to Notre Dame. And this is a guy that Notre Dame's had on their radar for a while. He, obviously visiting on a number of different occasions this year. Notre Dame just wanted to see what happened with his junior film, and he's really put it all together. And I'm at his game Thursday night, and he played wide receiver for Union Cooper High, had a 59-yard touchdown catch and run. Really impressive to see. He's a guy that's not going to pop off the tape as far as like length and athleticism and like super exciting, just unbelievable plays. It's this one here. I mean, look at that tackle there by number 4, Austin Alexander. And sometimes, like in recruiting, we get so caught up by like traits as length and twitch and all these synonyms and keyword or not synonyms, but adjective keywords of when we look for in recruits. Austin Alexander is just a really, really good football player. Their team dominated on Thursday night. Austin Alexander hardly played two full quarters, but he's just super outstanding. Getting to see in person, just a great football player. His head coach raved about his leadership qualities. And yeah, this is a guy I think has a chance to wind up at Notre Dame. He's looking to return for a visit next week against USC. He's also considering getting back to North Carolina. He'll be at Clemson this week, Kentucky in November. Wisconsin's a school he's looking to go to. He's a frequent visitor. He hits the road much more than Mike and I. He's visited every Power 5 school that's offered him besides West Virginia and Wisconsin. He has about 10 Power 5 offers. So he knows what he's looking for. School is kind of eyeing a January decision. And if things continue to progress well here for Notre Dame, I think there's a good chance that this Irish legacy could pave a path of his own at Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame's in a really interesting spot for defensive line recruiting in that they already have 3 commits. Joseph Reif from Chicagoland, CJ May, Highland Home, Alabama. Might talk about him, wink, wink, in just a moment. And who's the third, Kyle? Who am I forgetting?
Davian Dixon, another Florida guy.
Yeah. A big beefy interior defense lineman from the Sunshine State. So they have 3, and it's like, well, they're still recruiting a bunch of other defensive linemen. It's like, how many more can you take? A couple things here. I mean, every defensive line coach out in America wants to take like 6 or 7. Like, they'll take as many as they can. So that's one thing. The other is it's so early. You don't know how like different players are going to develop physically. So they might be a Viper right now, but they grow into a freaking 3 technique. Like, and then there's the reality of guys can't decommit. So you can't put your eggs into, one basket and, just totally anticipate that they're going to stay completely locked in through the recruiting process. So my Thursday trip drove from my home to Highland Home, Alabama. I didn't get footage of CJ May because it was just a practice. Got to see him run around, jog around a little bit, and it was just like an offensive walkthrough for 45 minutes. So there really wasn't much to report in terms of video. But physically, CJ May looks the part for sure. He's 6'4", 225 pounds, which, that's kind of Viperish, size. But he plays the 5 tech. And I think that might be where he ends up. Kyle, I think when we did this video, like after he committed, you were like, you thought he would play 5 tech in Notre Dame. I was like, I think he's a Viper. I'm with you now. Does that sound right, Kyle, or am I making that up?
Who is that now?
Talking about CJMA.
Yeah. So when talking to him, Notre Dame just wants to see how he kind of develops weight-wise. If he continues to attack on the pound, he might have to shift over to the strong side defensive end. At one point I kind of was leaning that way, but he's made some really exciting plays and like that edge rusher position for Highland Holmes. So, I mean, it's kind of so tough to say, right? With being about a year away from even any talk of a potential early enrollment. So, nonetheless, it's just versatile defensive lineman that can make plays all over the field.
Yeah. So I like him at 5 tech, just kind of seeing the body type from him. And when I walked into the field house, next to the football field, the head coach comes up to me and he says, welcome to the middle of nowhere. And that's pretty much what it was. I didn't really get to spend too much time in, just, driving in and out, but to see what else was in there. But I mean, there was a restaurant, but like, yeah, a couple gas stations. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting spot. And I think it kind of goes to show that Notre Dame can land the Chicago Catholic kid, and then it can go land the South Alabama, middle of nowhere kid as well. Like Notre Dame just kind of has that kind of power. So that's always good to see on display. All right, Kyle. Next up, wanted to discuss recent road travels. Now, your boy Mike Singer is struggling, right? I finally got around to editing Jack Larson video that I took in mid-September, but I forgot to put it all together in one highlight package. So we're going to do like a Charlotte recap, because I was last Friday I got to see Micah Gilbert, Bryce Young, 2 Notre Dame commits in the 2024 class, play against Wes Pritchett's 2 kids. So you got, Bryant Young's son going up against Wes Pritchett's sons. Like, that was just fantastic. So I will be able to dive into that more next week. Yeah, Kyle. Actually, Kyle, I'm gonna let you, because I'm sure you saw that text we just got. I'm gonna let you go ahead and run that article. Kyle's got some news to report on the message board, and then we'll talk about it in the show. So I'll go ahead and talk about where I'm at right now, and then we'll get Kyle. You can rejoin the show. This is just live television, folks. We got some good recruiting news to talk about. So right now I am in a hotel in Mobile, Alabama, which is about 50 minutes from Lucedale, Mississippi, where, of course, Notre Dame has the class of 2025 commitment at the quarterback spot from Duce Knight. Top 40 overall player per the On3 industry ranking, number 3 quarterback in the country. So I will be seeing him this afternoon, talking to his high school coach, hanging out in the area. I think there's a really good barbecue place that I've been told about that's close to the high school. So I'll be hanging out there for lunch, and then heading over to a coffee shop to work until the game. So really excited to see Duce Knight. My first time getting in to meet him in person. Now, this past Friday was his first game for George County because he started the season with Nashville Lipscomb Academy, wanted to move back home to Lucedale, Mississippi to be with family. So he had to sit, I think, 2 or 3 game suspension for, transfer rules or whatever it is. So in his first game back, it was a losing effort, and he struggled throwing the ball down the field, 3 of 13. But he had, I think, 91 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So, when you're gone for a while, integrating back to a team can be a bit of a struggle. But looking forward to seeing what it looks like for Duce Knight. Does he really get back on track with his team and light it up through the air? So we'll definitely be watching Duce Knight and looking forward to that. So Irish Natty has a question. He's very angry here about the recruiting prediction machine. So it was 37%. So, okay, his question for podcast audience is, why would you have Duce at 37%? You spelled Duce wrong, by the way. 30% likelihood if he is already verbally committed. This was what the recruiting prediction machine showed before he committed. So that's that, buddy. So chill out. So same thing for Drew, asking what's the deal with the recruiting prediction machine? They got Meg at 6%. Can't be more off that. Again, that was before he committed, which, I mean, just according to data where he lives, and the amount of visits, which are the two biggest things for the recruiting prediction machine, as well as actual predictions, that would make total sense. So again, folks, it's just kind of it's just a fun little tool to look at recruitment. Again, the three biggest components of the recruiting prediction machine are location, right? The closer you are to the school, the higher percentage that school's going to have. The amount of visits you take, right? Follow the visits. And of course, predictions. Like if you log a prediction for a kid, the recruiting prediction machine is going to spike up for that school. So those are the three things with the RPM. I've got a super chat. Andrew, thank you. He says Mike and Kyle. Kyle is still with us. I can see him backstage. So Kyle, you can join whenever you are done posting this news, and we'll talk about it shortly. He says, Mike and Kyle, in your opinion, what is the likelihood that Notre Dame gets one more chance for quarterback for 2024? I just don't see Marcus Freeman starting a young quarterback at Texas A&M. It's a great question. I have two thoughts on this. My first being that I think it's very much, it's TBD in the sense of, what if, everyone knock on wood right now, knock on wood, Sam Hartman stays completely healthy, because if Hartman goes down, knock on wood again, against the Louisville or something, and then Angeli comes in and lights it up, you don't, and he's clearly the guy, then you don't need a transfer for next year. Like, you got your guy. But the opposite could happen. What if Hartman were to go down and Angeli comes in and he stinks? And then it's very obvious that you need a transfer for next year. Or there's the obvious option of Hartman stays healthy the rest of the year, and then Notre Dame just kind of has to go on what they've seen in practice. And if that's the case, knowing this Notre Dame staff, I think it's more likely that they go into the transfer portal for a quarterback for next year. That's kind of my take on it. That's where I would lean. I think likelihood in terms of percentage, I got nothing for you, Andrew, but I would say it's more likely than not that they will. That's just my personal opinion. So you can take it or leave it. Drew says, I know it's not exact, but it seems like throwing stuff on a wall and see what sticks. Again, it's really not, it's just data. It's the visits, and it's going to grow the RPM. It's something that I'm still like, yeah, you can't look at it and be like, I'm going to base everything on the RPM, but it's visits, its location, and its predictions, which those are pretty important things in the recruiting process, Drew. So if you are angry about it and this just, really triggers you, then you don't need to look at it. That would be my recommendation for you. Kyle, are you back yet, my friend? Kyle Kelly checking in with Kyle. You still working? Okay, Kyle's back. There he is.
I'm Kyle, always working, man. Never stops. Never stops.
Okay, so let's pull up Blue and Gold. I know this is a premium story, so folks would need a subscription to check it out. But Kyle, I think for our YouTube live audience and for folks watching back and via podcast, I think we will allow it. Why don't you tell us about this this headline here? 4-star recruit from the South sets first Notre Dame visit.
Yeah, this is one we've been sitting on for a couple days. We heard it's been in the works It is a 2025 recruit, James Simon from Louisiana, Calvary Baptist School. He is a 4-star running back. Of course, Notre Dame already has 2 running backs committed in the 2025 recruiting cycle, in Justin Thurman from Tampa Jesuit and Bryant Hayes and Daniel Anderson. Notre Dame loves both those guys. They got to see each of them camp with Coach McCullough in person, obviously, in June. And McCullough evaluated both those guys, and he didn't have to take either of them this early on in the process. But Notre Dame feels confident enough in their abilities that they want to add them to the class and both prioritize those guys. But James Simon, he was a pot gold offeree on March 17th. Like 65 recruits picked up offers that day. Simon just one of 2 running backs to offer or get a Notre Dame offer. And this visit has been in the works for a while. Simon's just been trying to way to get to Notre Dame. He was trying to get up there in the spring, trying to get up there during the summer, and just in constant communication with staff, trying to find a way up to campus. And Notre Dame wants to on this visit since they've tried to make it happen for so long. They're going to get them on campus and see what happens. Both Notre Dame's running backs commits are aware of it. Of course, Notre Dame was in line to take 3 running backs in the 23 cycle before Jaden Lamar and Dylan Edwards left. Yeah, I mean, anything could have happened. But
yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah, Dylan Edwards could also have played wide receiver. But anyway, this is kind of a flyer here. As you can see on the RPM, this is a little bit more accurate of a read. LSU heavily out in front here. He's been to campus, I think, 8 times. A ton of SEC schools involved. Texas A&M being one of them. But Notre Dame's just going to my campus be his first trip to a Midwestern school, which I think has kind of been a theme of Notre Dame's visitors this season. So, yeah, this is some scoop that we had on Blue and Gold and kind of teased it earlier in the week. This one has been in the works, obviously, for a while. Confirmed on the schedule that James Simon is going to be visiting Notre Dame next weekend.
Great scoop by Kyle Kelly. Does a fantastic job at Blue and Gold. Please check out blueandgold.com. Current offer, $1 for 1 month. Just kind of get your foot in the door and try it out. And we will also have an offer if you want to take the plunge for an annual subscription. We will have an offer for you guys to let you all know about early next week. Wrap up today's show, Kyle. Why don't you tell us about Styles Prescott, seeing him last week? He is, it's an interesting one, folks. 3-star, according to 24/7 Rivals, 4-star outside of the national rankings, according to ESPN. And then you got On3, listing him as a number 184 overall player, number 10 interior offensive lineman in the country. Notre Dame likes him as a tackle. I could see guard, but Notre Dame recruiting him as a tackle. Curious, just like what you saw from him last week. We'll pop on this footage as well. Like just your overall thoughts seeing Styles Prescott.
Yeah, the kind of the key word with him that just talking to folks around Fishers, Indiana, Hamilton Southeastern, that I guess like the buzzword is athleticism. That's an athletic offensive tackle that Notre Dame has verbally committed in the 24 class. And just looking at him run around and move a little bit, he kind of I bet you if you catch a pass back in the day, could probably play a tight end. Like he moves really well. His footwork is at this stage in his offensive line career is almost impeccable. He just very light and kind of feet. And one emphasis for him this season, even though he does have great footwork, is kind of driving defenders off ball and pushing them, yards downfield rather than just something simple. But yeah, pancake block there against a really good defensive end from Noblesville, Indiana High. Israel Oladipo is a variation of the name. Oladipo came up to Notre Dame, camped, and also returned in July. So a guy Notre Dame had on its radar, has a bunch of MAC offers. Prescott pretty much dominated that matchup. Unfortunately, this game was another rout, which is also a theme of Blue and Gold's recruiting coverage when I'm on the road this year. Usually the teams I've been covering win big, and Hamilton Southeastern only had to throw 8 times during the game, so they didn't really get to see a ton of Silas Prescott do pass sets. But yeah, I think the biggest thing Notre Dame is going to look for with him is some weight gain, and that's going to be an early enrollee in January, and Prescott is going to be able to rack up those pounds, able to fit those Power 5 defensive linemen, and super exciting prospect. I've written a couple times on Blue and Gold that he's kind of in that same tier as Zach Martin, Liam Eichenberg, and Robert Hainsey, where all those guys played offensive tackle a little bit on the shorter end, but then transitioned into the interior of the offensive line in the NFL, and that's kind of where On3 hasn't projected. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but when On3 categorizes these guys positionally, that's ultimately where they think they would end up in the NFL, right?
Correct.
So yeah, Silas Prescott, Notre Dame is going to start him out at offensive tackle. That's the plan, and like those Eichenberg and Martins and all those other guys, he could play offensive tackle and then find his way on the interior in the NFL with. He has a good college career. So that is a little bit about Silas Prescott. Super exciting prospect, and one that kind of got overlooked in the process, I feel like, just being an in-state kid. But Alabama offered him. Pretty much every Big Ten school offered him. He's been to Colorado. Take a look at his offer sheet there. Obviously, Tennessee, Stanford, super interesting school. Yeah, Notre Dame is very excited about him, and rightfully so, because there's a lot that Notre Dame can kind of mold there into the type of offensive lineman they want Silas Prescott to be.
All right, last but not least, quickly, Kyle, Tabron Benny Powell is who you'll be seeing on Friday night. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, so Tabron Benny Powell has been a hot streak with interceptions. I think he has one in his last 2 games, so 1 each that is, and last time I saw Tabron Powell was camping at Notre Dame. He picked up an offer, committed a few days later. So super interesting prospect in the fact that didn't really play safety last year for Lakota West, played more of a outside linebacker role because Notre Dame freshman Ben Mick and then Ohio State freshman Malik Hartford both played that safety position for Westchester Lakota West. So to Brown Powell, this will be, I think, game number 7 or 8 of his senior season, and pretty much game number 7 of 8. Him playing safety as well. So excited to see where his development is at there, and of course, hopefully he can keep up with the interception streak.
All right, so good stuff there. Looking forward to your report from Tabron Benny Powell's game, and of course, I'm seeing Duce Knight on the road. Yeah, check out blueandgold.com. We'll have more reports on that. Maybe next week I'll finally have some of my my Charlotte footage put together for the show, because Jack Larson was outstanding, and then Mike Gilbert and Bryce Young, the Pritchett boys, all had really good games, all the good looking players. So we'll talk more about that next week, and we will also preview.
You're muted again on accident.
Yeah, I meant to mute you, Kyle, and I muted myself because I am just a genius like that. Muted myself mid-sentence. Listen, I'm doing the show from a hotel. I usually have 2 monitors. I'm struggling, but we got through it. So, folks, go to blueandgold.com. Read that report from Kyle on James Simon visiting for the USC game. Really intriguing visitor from the South, class of 2025 running back, as well as much more Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage. Notre Dame Louisville preview content. You're going to want to check that out on our website as well as our Blue Gold YouTube channel. Appreciate you all for watching or listening and making us a part of your day. As always, folks, we will catch you next time.